Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about that delay. We are about to be the Gentlemen Strangers. Everyone, please send your warmest regards and trash bags in the chat for Zoe. He's feeling a little under the weather, and I'm sure would appreciate our support. But we are here to haunt the streets of Victorian London with anti-heroic shenanigans. So I'm sorry the VOD from last session still isn't up on YouTube. That's because I keep forgetting to do it, but I will do it soon. Anyway, welcome to Gentlemen Strangers. We are in December, which means our schedule is going to get really weird. We are going to have a session next week, and then we'll see you in January at some point. Um, so that's that. So let's jump straight in. Mr. Leech has been, since joining the Gentlemen Strangers, has been keen to carve out some space in the Millennium Club for a workshop, for a laboratory. Because you do have some workspace of your own, but there's a limit to the things you can do. Like your day job doesn't let you get in weird shit and do funny experiments and stuff. You know, you need a lab space you can do that. So you've been going through. None of you have a blueprint or anything like it for this building, and it's on several floors. So you do a lot of exploration, and I think I'm imagining you're enlisting the help of Mr. Hound, who's quite good at, investigating spaces. Because there's something that's not quite adding up to you on one of the floors. You're sure there should be a room somewhere, but there isn't a door. And you're exploring with Mr. Hound, and you come across a narrow corridor which seems to be a complete dead end. But on one of the walls, which should be the wall of this room you think is here, the only thing you can see is a rather odd looking. Well, it looks like a fixture for a gas lamp, but you're not 100% sure. And next to it is hanging a framed photograph, which none of you have seen before. I mean, the halls of the Millennium Club are extensive, and they exist liminally until I tell you what they are. And as such, you've not really explored this bit before, or it was blocked off by sheeted up furniture and whatnot. There's quite a lot of that around. But there is a photograph depicting, of all people, Mr. Hyde, the proprietor of the Aventine. He looks a good deal younger, and actually he looks rather unwell. But you can see that the photograph is being pushed against the glass of the frame, as if there's something in the frame behind it.
I reckon that might be worth taking down and having a look at.
So yeah, you take the photo out. The first thing is the photo has some writing on the back of it. It says December such and such a year. Myself not quite alone. Satan himself beside me. The year is 8 years ago, because obviously we don't determine what year it is, but it's 8 years ago relative to now. Now it's not quite clear what he means. Since he's alone in the photograph. However, there is, once you see that strange inscription, "Not quite alone, Satan beside me," you look at the photo again, and there is a strange shadow lurking behind him that isn't the same shape as he is. And behind the photograph, there is a letter. I will post the text of this to you in our group chat, but I'll as well as I read it.
Hound, in this moment with the letter, hands it immediately to Mr. Leech.
Dear Madam W, you commanded me to destroy my laboratory and all of the work I had done. I confess that I could not, things being as they are. If you did not abide by my request, then this note will not exist, and the laboratory will be in ruins. I hope the contrary is true. If you understood my need well enough to do me that one final favour, then you will, I trust, understand why my laboratory should not be destroyed. The lock upon it is of my own design, and is made so that not even the cunning of Mr. L could open it. Its key does not yet exist, except in theory, for it is a chemical formulation known only to me. Injecting another solution will render the lock inoperable at best, and at worst, trigger a device I have set in place to immolate the laboratory. In the event that you should come to need the materials or knowledge contained therein, your only recourse shall be through Mr. H, who is the inheritor of my secrets. I should prefer it if you did not trouble him, for his life is no doubt lived in a greater peace than mine can have hoped to. Should it prove necessary, I believe he is likely to assist you, though, as you are aware, I have never been able to predict or intervene in his actions. Unless that day comes, may the memory of my work fade, as I hope to, into oblivion. For as long a time as I am to be given, I remain your servant and loyal friend, Harry.
Do you know a Harry?
Ash?
Oh, Ash, the audio is bad now.
Ash, is there any chance that you have two microphones interfering with each other? Like, does your laptop... Are you on a laptop with a built-in microphone? Oh, you sound fine now. Whatever. Gang, this is just gonna happen. Ash has had... If you can think of an audio problem that someone could have, Ash has experienced them within like a 30-second span. She's gone through the entire spectrum of them, so...
I don't think I know Harry.
Well, I reckon we take this to Spider,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe go and speak with Aventide. No, Aventide. What's the name again? The proprietor of the Aventide.
Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Hyde.
Guess that's our best bet.
Oh, I realise now you're asking that in character. A voice in your head tells you it's Mr. Hyde. Quite haunting. Quite bad.
I remember.
Yeah, okay. So Spider, you are at some point shown the are you shown the letter? Did you show him the photograph as well?
Yeah,
Show
I'll
him.
take the whole shebang.
Yeah. Fascinating. The laboratory still intact. That would be great.
Mm-hmm.
No, of course. Harry.
Some friend of Mr. Hyde's. Interesting. A letter sent to Madame Whisper regarding a laboratory. Who could this Harry fellow have been? Well, it indicates with great interest that we are not the first gentlemen strangers. But let us hope that he was wrong about Mr. Leech in his capacity to crack the code. Well then, gentlemen, calls for a drink at the Aventine.
I'm right with you.
You head to Aventine. It's a decently busy night. The Aventine never wants for patrons. And I suppose, Mr. Hyde, do you head to your regular table, or do you stay at the bar?
have a
Mm.
to regular table is not
Yeah.
out of the question.
So you take a seat at your normal booth, which is all but reserved for you, and after a few minutes dealing with his patrons at the bar, Mr. Hyde comes to join you. Gentlemen, what will it be tonight?
I'd have my usual.
Of course.
Yes. I think a brandy. And a moment of your time, Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Hound?
I'll just have a bit of...
He will return in a few minutes with your respective. What is Mr. Leech's usual?
Or I don't know. Do they have like
Creme de menthe.
odd drinks? I mean, yeah. I mean, I've always imagined. I don't know. This is not up to me, but I've always imagined Mr. Leech never eats or drinks in front of the other strangers because, like, unbuttoning the beak from the mask is a real inconvenience.
Oh, I know. No, I think never drink, but they would still order something.
Oh my god, ridiculous!
That's so
I feel
weird.
Also, like specifically request like a drink from the south. Order it, just so that like so some sort of like appley, something like that.
Some sort of cider or other. Yeah, some sort of apple beer. Okay, fine. You order. You get a cider. Mr. Hyde, who has taken so many full glasses from you as you leave the Aventine, is now kind of just giving you, like, he's not bothering to pour it properly. Like, he doesn't bother with making sure it's the better. He just pulls it straight from the tap and just dumps it in front of you because you don't care about the quality of it.
Or maybe like just before Leech leaves, they like decanter it really awfully into like a sort of thing and take
out.
it with them.
You have a drinking straw that dispenses from the beak of your mask, and you just dip your beak in like a bird.
Yeah.
Mr. Hyde delivers your drinks, and you wanted a moment of my time, Mr. Spider.
Yes. Do join us.
Well, I shouldn't like to sit with you. A tad unprofessional, but I'll give you my time nonetheless.
Mr. Spider will glance at the two that discovered the letter because they might have more insights.
Have I kept the letter? I guess.
It was
Hound
handed.
Hound has zero interest in the letter.
We found this under a photo of you. Wall.
I see.
And we're kind of, I being the profession that I am, would like a laboratory, but I don't wish to intrude on your personal life.
Perhaps this is a conversation we could have in a more private setting, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Please follow me. I lead you out back and up some stairs into an office. There's nothing particularly out of place in it, to be honest. He doesn't spend much time here, but you can see all of the sorts of things you'd expect in the sort of office where someone is doing all of the necessary accounts and whatnot for a place like this. Perhaps Mr. Hound has got the sort of keen eyes to notice, possibly Mr. Spider as well, but more for the reason of Mr. Spider is used to being in the company. Mr. Spider has gone to the sorts of offices where you easily expect to see a sort of a silver tray with a couple of bottles of something. Curiously, for a bartender, you see not a single drop of liquor anywhere. He has a tea set. He sits down at his desk. I'm sorry, I only have 2 chairs. Well, the story behind this is not a photograph of me. Well, that's debatable. I am not the man you see depicted in this photograph, though the man himself might have argued that I was in it nonetheless, in the form of the strange shadow you see lurking behind him. And no doubt I've intrigued you with that description, but suffice it to say that this man is a dear and deceased friend of mine called Harry Jekyll. He was, at one time, as you are now, a member of the Gentlemen Strangers, which I never was. He was a physician and a rather brilliant chemist. He and I were not always... He and I were closer than any two people could hope to be, but we were not always friends. He resented me enormously, and the circumstances of his leaving the Gentlemen Strangers were sad, tragic. He's long gone now. But if he left his laboratory behind, about which I know very little, it means he was trying to preserve something. The man was... Madam Whisper used to call him the Da Vinci of our times. He'd have 1,000 ideas a day, maybe 4 of them good. But by good, I only mean that they were practicable. He must have preserved something in there that he thought a future iteration of the Strangers might want. The lock, as he says in this letter, is chemical in nature, and I know not the first thing about chemistry. But he did leave me a few things. And one of them was to be given to the Gentlemen Strangers in the event that they present me with this photograph. An event which he foresaw as fairly likely. Though I don't believe he anticipated that Madam Whisper would not be the one to do it. He goes to one of his cabinets and takes out an old envelope and hands it to Mr. Leech. Within the envelope is a few pages that very clearly a chemical process is being described. You're not confident what compound is being created, except that it is called the Philosopher's Key. You recognize perhaps half of the components of this formula, and perhaps half of the processes and equipment required and described within it.
Okay.
Harry always said there were only 2 men in all of England who could follow these instructions, and he was one of them. The other is one Dr. Atticus Pellew. Last I'd heard of him, he was once an ingenious a scientist, worked at Cambridge or some other institution, and in his retirement, he and his wife set up a pharmacy on King Street. He'd be your man. Jekyll spoke highly of almost no other scientist, but did speak highly of Dr. Pellew.
Appreciate you being so open.
I was entrusted with a part of Harry's legacy, and as if I were the executor of his will, I am bound by my promise to do so. But I will warn you, and this comes from me, not from Harry, he was a prodigy. I don't doubt, Mr. Leech, that you are talented. But I will warn you, I have never met anyone capable of the same processes of thought that Harry Jekyll was. If there is something in that laboratory that you do not think is safe, or you do not think is correct, or you do not think should be pursued, my personal advice is to follow that instinct and ignore it. There are some ideas that Harry Jekyll had that should have died with him, but it's not up to me to decide which ideas are among those, okay?
Understandable, yeah.
I believe I do owe you more,
Yes.
but as I said, I was never one of the gentleman strangers.
Yeah.
Through my acquaintance with Harry, I got to know them. And for reasons that are too complicated to go into, I was present for their decline. But I'll say this. It was with mixed emotion that I witnessed the evening that this new generation of strangers came in to my establishment. And it was with mixed emotion that I learnt of the demise of Madam Whisper. A complicated figure, if ever there was one. One day, gentlemen, we will talk. And we will discuss my life and how I came to be where I am and how I came to outlive Harry Jekyll.
We look forward to it, Mr. Hyde.
Leech will shake his hand.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doesn't be like pharmacy on King Street.
Yes, so the good news is that Dr. Atticus Pellew is one of the expert craftsmen on King Street that you... Yeah. So, making the presumption that at some point the three of you head to King Street. Izzy's like, Spider's over it, actually. We don't need a lab. This sounds very sinister. The letter definitely used the word immolate at one point, and that is not a good thing.
I go back to the Millennium Club and start removing my library.
Yeah.
If you seriously don't want to go, Leech would go by them.
No, we'll go.
Okay. So you go down to King Street. I think you're probably greeted by one of your governors, by one of your gang members. Things have been, very quiet on King Street, as you'd hoped, given the fact that it was effectively gifted to you by Ronan McAlliskey. But even so, it's very reassuring that you have your toughs walking the street, and you can easily find Pellew and Pellew Pharmacy. There is a sign at the door that says closed, which is strange because it's the middle of the day, but you can see someone inside, a woman of late middle age. She's wearing a white apron. She seems to be holding a a book in one hand and a pencil in the other, and she seems to be checking the stock on the shelves.
Just give a couple tap on the window.
She I think she turns and she starts the sentence, "We're closed." But then she recognizes you all. The people of King Street are well aware that they are under the protection of the Gentlemen Strangers, and although you haven't extorted them, they were under the thumb of McAlliskey for a long time. So I think, she recognizes that she should open the door to you three. Hello, I'm sorry. If you need something in particular, we're not open, but do come in.
No, we don't wish to trust it from you. That. Just looking for a Dr. Atticus Payoff.
I see. I'm afraid Dr. Pellew is not available.
Right.
I suppose you are the ones to tell. A few days ago, he told me he had business with a funeral director called McCready or something like that. He went to the funeral parlour and hasn't returned. Every day since then, I've been thinking I should find a way to reach out to you, since I know that your job is to protect. The police haven't been very helpful.
Sorry. Well, where is this funeral parlour he went to?
She gives a location. It's a few streets away. Mr. Spider and Mr. Hound, of course, already know where the funeral parlour is. They were expecting the street name that she gives, as McCready's headquarters. McCreary. I just said McCready.
So, we'll go and have a look. We'll see if we can find him. How long did you say? It's been a few days, yeah?
3 days ago he left, yes.
Right.
It's not like him not to have gotten a message out.
Interesting.
Did he say what business he was under?
No. He mentioned that he'd had a note from this, whatever his name was, McCready, a character, saying he had some business for him. I assume that a funeral parlour has use for all sorts of chemicals. So I thought they were going to talk about a new contract of some kind, but he didn't say. There didn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary about it. He didn't leave with any sense of great apprehension.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Right. Well, thank you for your time.
I know that my husband has made some enemies over the course of his life.
Right.
But I need to know what has happened to him, one way or the other.
And he's never mentioned this McCready feller.
Not that I can think of, no. The only Irishman I can think of off the top of my head that we've ever had business with, there's a brewery run by a Mr. McAlliskey, and my husband used to supply various purifying agents and cleaning agents for them, but
What was his relationship like with McAlliskey?
perfectly good. McAlliskey, as you know, is not a good man. But despite extorting us, he did at least always pay his bill, though I suppose thinking about it, he was paying it with our money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is the nature of business in this part of town.
Well, Mrs. Pellew, if he has fallen foul of some sort of ruffians, we shall let you know.
That's all I ask. And you must let me know if your investigations cause you any expense.
Don't worry about that. That'll be alright.
Well, thank you.
Bye.
Okay. So, rescuing Pellew. What's the thought?
This will be a challenge. You have avoided falling foul of McCreary for some time.
Well, don't forget you have potentially an acquaintance who may be able to give you a less direct path if you prefer.
Yes.
Quietly. Not too much.
With McCreary, we should not assume that we can move quietly enough.
Have you two in there at all?
Perhaps, Mr. Leech, we should come clean about our previous affiliations with McCreary. He does not like us.
Bugger.
Amazing.
Quite.
Pain in the arse and whatnot.
You will recall our permanent house guest speaks often of a gentleman of Camden that she had a particular run-in with.
Right.
That would be Mr. McCreary.
It's
I wouldn't worry too much. I don't much like him either. We have.
I was going to say there's none of us that like him, but he has something we need. What are your thoughts, Hound?
We've been there before. I can give it a bit of a look, see if it's been fortified or any new additions. But if I remember correctly, there was always something a bit phantasmal about the spot anyway.
If this Atticus Pellew has been contracted in to do some sort of chemical skullduggery, then it may well be that we need to see what has changed under 4Y.
To that end, if I'm off with Leech having a bit of a look-see, do you want to speak to Miss Amelia?
Izzy, I didn't hear.
Amelia.
Izzy, you are now having audio problems. Is your original sound on? Because you're having that thing you always have when it isn't. I can't. You need to talk to test. There you are.
It should be.
It wasn't. I think it is now. I could hear it turn on.
Oh.
So I think you just turned it on.
Well, I think my microphone just shuffled, so I think it might have accidentally taken me to the webcam.
Oh, that explains a few things. Okay, so that fan is loud, isn't it? Mr. Hound, You are going to scope out the mortuary, the funeral parlor. Mr. Spider, you're going to speak to
Amelia.
Amelia. Okay. Mr. Leech, what's your scheme?
I thought I was going with.
Mr. Hound?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, fine, perfect. Okay, so let's start with Mr. Spider and Amelia. I will always roll a quality check. To see if Amelia is available, because she is not always.
I always want a high quality Amelia.
What? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I shall roll it on a random character sheet, I guess. Or I'll just roll some dice. That's not even correct. Okay, so unfortunately, I have rolled a 2, which means Amelia does not answer the summons. She is not available.
Drat.
That being the case, do you have a change of plan? I don't want to do. Oh, that's you done. I mean, like I said, you have an acquaintance who may be able to help you if you want to go down that route.
I definitely want to wait to see what Sneak Squad come back with. Like,
Okay.
I'm not just charging in there being like, tell us the things, without knowing what's going on. Like,
Are you able to? You have a fan on you. It's very loud. I wonder if you could direct it away from your microphone. Izzy's doing a face because that's actually her heater, and it's the only thing keeping her blood liquid.
I'm pointing the fan at me and I'm pointing the microphone at me. I can't help it.
Okay, so Messrs Hound and Leech, you go to the mortuary. The mortuary actually isn't under McQuarrie's name, if I recall correctly. I'm going to check this. So it is McQuarrie's place of business. It's not exactly his gang headquarters, but it is certainly his place of business. So you know from having gone there in the past, Mr. Hound, that it is. There are a few people there whose purpose is not directly connected to the funeral trade.
Very good.
So yeah, I guess do some scatting for me. It's called Sullivan's. Is the funeral parlor Sullivan's funeral parlor? Yeah.
If I were to do you a survey roll, what would my position be?
You are. They're not alerted, so you know it's going to be controlled position, controlled and standard.
That is a 3 and a 3 for you, my good sir.
Okay, so 3 means that you can't see any particular. Could you roll me another die? Bowman's just redeemed a minor help, so add another die to that. A 4. Well, but thank you, Bowman. You have tilted the odds. Okay, fine. So scratch that. Because you know from the time Mr. Cutter ended up rescuing the person who turned out to be Amelia from here, you know that McQuarrie does use Sullivan's as a jail, as a holding place for looking after the people he's brought in. And you recognize that there are definitely people who are looking like they're trying to look like they're not guarding the place. They're trying to guard casually, and it's not really working. You know that there is a way round the back access for carts to get through, obviously hearses and so that is the most guarded, but because McCreary is dedicated to making sure this looks as much like just your everyday business as possible, ironically, the weak point is the public-facing part, because that can't look like a stronghold. You spend a few hours doing this, just to, I get patterns on people's movements, and you can see people sometimes go in. When they come out, they're not the same people. What that tells you, I think, is that there are actually a few people inside, probably guarding McCreary. Yeah. Yeah.
I can tell you for certain that this is well fortified. Is there anything that you can see that would suggest that something of a more alchemical persuasion is being concocted within?
Oh, I can have a look. What's that? Is that a survey?
Survey, yeah, that could work.
Okay. Standard.
Yeah, controlled standard.
Yep.
A 4. Great. Okay, so I'm trying to think. I think the place you would go is round the back. You have succeeded in surveying this location, so I think the information I can give you is there is affirmatively no way to tell, and the reason for this is because a great deal of chemical work does go on at a place like this. The Victorians were big into preserving corpses prior to burial, which is a very strange thing to do in my personal view. It's terrible for the environment, but also, like, they're going in the ground. What are you hoping to do with them that you need them
Also,
preserved?
The process is
Oh, I mean, yeah. So there's a lot of chemical work that goes on. If you're trying to sniff out organic chemistry going on, yes, the place reeks of formaldehyde and so on. If there's anything extraordinary going on, you can't tell. I mean, it's a mortuary. It's not a chemical plant. But they are applying chemicals to things. But you couldn't tell if there was anything out of the ordinary going on.
it's just formaldehyde and chemicals and well. Nothing that I can deduce is
Right.
apparently.
Well, I think I head back. See what Spider makes of it.
You reunite at the Millennium Club.
Any
Locked.
Unfortunately, Miss Amelia was not available for discussion, which leaves only one person if we are light on facts.
Queen Victoria. She owes us one, after all, after that debacle at the Tower of London last week.
I can tell you it's locked down. That's about all.
Has chemicals, but
Yes, thank you, Mr. Leech. Invaluable as always. So we are no better off than we were before.
Not strictly.
only that it's to get in.
we need to speak with McAlliskey. Is that him?
Is that him?
No.
No.
A video auto played on my feed and started me.
That's what you get for browsing when you should be formulating a
Sorry.
plan.
Who
Well,
was the best relationship with him?
Probably his wife.
Who hit him in the face? Was that me or was that you?
By default, I would guess it was me.
I was
But-
gonna say.
Yes, but that was the day I broke my little gun. And I don't remember
you-
whether I broke it on him or not.
No, you didn't break it on him. I'm pretty sure it was either Hound or Lurk that socked him in the jaw.
Very well, I shall go.
Yeah, he didn't like my mask, so
Well, it is very striking, Leech.
people don't talk to me or come near me.
Well,
I can't think why. I'm so approachable.
but you're so very sociable.
I look like a herald of doom from some apocalyptic cult, but for some reason that's not doing it for everyone.
They just got to know me.
Yes, you're lovely.
Okay, so you want to solicit the advice of Ronan McAlliskey, who
I'm gonna go soliciting McAlliskey.
who you know is plotting against McCreary anyway. How do you make contact with McAlliskey?
Remind me again what his line of business is.
He
Like,
is a brewer.
professionally- Brewer, yes.
So by knob is what he...
I don't take Leech on this adventure. Or you, knobber, come talk to us.
I love how I love how Mr. Leech's accent has gotten more broad since his exposure to cider. Like I think the apple molecules have like reminded him he's from the south. I'm here for it, frankly. Yeah, defo, absolutely here for it.
I like that my accent becomes posher the more Mr. Leech talks.
That was always the case. Mr. Spider always became popular, a bit more became posher when Steerage was talking. That was always the case.
Yes, but he always thought Leech was like at least upper middle class. And now here they come talking like a farmer and drinking like a
No.
farmer and smelling like a chemical farmer.
What do you think the crops? Pesticides!
So I leave Hound and Leech talking about crops. And I suppose I will head to the brewery? Maybe drop him a note just saying like,
You're gonna go to the brewery. That was what I was asking. Okay.
either I'm gonna go or I'm gonna deliver him a note via local urchin or something. Just
Okay.
saying
Well, those
that
are
he
two
wants to
very
talk.
different
I
things.
would like to talk to him,
Yeah.
and I don't know what's polite when it comes to business dealings.
Okay. Well, it's entirely up to you to decide what you think is polite in business dealings. There are lots of factors to consider about whether or not you want to.
Yeah, I think what
s-
Spider's gonna do is write a note that clearly indicates who he is, and we'll just say something like, "I'm interested in discussing an order or something," and we'll send in someone with a shiny penny to deliver it.
Where do you want to meet him?
The Aventine,
Okay.
not a heathen. Then I take a book and go and sit in the Aventine.
So sometime later, McAlliskey shows up. He just walks over and, without waiting for invitation, sits down. I don't appreciate being summoned.
It wasn't a summon, it was a request.
Christ alive, I hate how English people talk to me. What is it?
How would you like me to talk to you, Mr. McAlliskey? McCreary has taken someone of interest to us, and we are curious as to whether he is still alive.
The chemist.
Yes.
Hmm.
Since it will involve a lot of resources and a lot of irritation to McCreary if we take action to reclaim our chemist friend, if he has been taken and killed, that will be of no interest to us.
Oh, he's alive. McCreary needs his help.
To do what?
Christ knows.
Yes, that's the problem. Christ's not telling.
What?
Doesn't matter. So he's alive, and he's in the...
He's in Sullivan's.
Yes,
Having a lovely time, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Is it likely to cause a great deal of concern if we intervene?
Oh, I see. I suppose he does technically fall under your protection, doesn't he?
Indeed.
Hmm. Well, there aren't many of you, and there's quite a lot of McCreary, so what if I were to offer to extract your scientist for you?
What do you want?
One way or the other. McCreary's going to know that the strangers have intervened. Whether it's you who physically take him from Sullivan's or not, it's going to be war between you. So the only thing I can reasonably protect you from is immediate harm to life and limb.
I believe this war is coming, whether we like it or not.
My offer is this. I can get him out. But I can't get him far. You're going to have to arrange transport for him. If you want to take a carriage down the streets or a boat down the canalways, that's up to you. You let me know what's best, and I'll get him there. But I warn you, you're trading a direct assault against McCreary's place of business for very possibly an exchange of fire in the London streets. I cannot overstate how much McCreary needs this man. You might be better off finding another chemist.
That would be a problem.
No, I know, code of honor and all that. You did promise to protect him. But forgive me, I'm a criminal. I'm just suggesting that maybe there's a more expedient way.
Do you believe McCreary is open to negotiation?
Not with you.
No. Quite.
McCreary's not an unreasonable man. The problem is he seems to think there's something about this particular chemist that's useful to him.
He's a brilliant chemist.
Apparently much in demand. So, I'll give you a day to think about it.
Yes.
Drop me a note with the day and the place you want me to deliver you this chemist. You'll have to make all the other arrangements for yourself.
Thank you, we shall be in touch.
Or drop me a note declining. Either way, I'll hear from you.
Indeed.
What I want in return for that,
Yes.
you'll owe me a favour.
Of equal magnitude or greater?
I'm protecting harm to your life and limb. I will expect a favour of equal magnitude. I'm not a cruel man, Mr. Spider. I won't hold it over your head for long. I'll cash it in as soon as I can. Sound fair?
Abundantly. As I said, we shall be in touch. Thank you, Mr. McAlliskey. You're welcome to a drink on our tab.
I can buy my own drinks, thank you. He stands up and leaves, muttering something about Saxon nonsense.
My family is statistically more likely to be Norman, but never mind. Return to the Aventine. No, to the Millennium Club.
Oh, I'm still in the same booth. What the hell? I tried to do my fast travel sequence, and I accidentally the same place. Okay, so I'm assuming you relay all that to the other strangers.
Yes.
There is a deal on the table.
Do we really want to take that deal?
They seem well fortified there. I'm with you. I don't like the idea of owing anyone anything, but to even the odds, I think we've got to.
Also, we are drawing a target on ourselves regardless. This brings McAlliskey quite firmly into the fold. No culpable deniability and all that.
I suppose if we get our hands, we're all in the same boat.
Quite.
Speaking of, how are we getting this man out of here?
We could take our boat to the canal.
We do have a boat.
You have a very early model petroleum fueled motorboat.
Lucky us.
It exists 100% because Blades in the Dark is definitely not the Dishonored role-playing game, and I definitely don't absolutely love the little skiffs that they drive in Dishonored.
Cool. Well, and the canal is viable. On the water, you have to stay on the water. You can't just bugger off elsewhere.
It would mean bringing him to the Millennium Club. Or at least nearby to it.
You have an advantage there, because the Millennium Club has the hidden trait. Assuming that you don't enter the Millennium Club literally in line of sight of a pursuer, they'll not find you.
Yes.
Well, I suppose we need him there anyway. And we need it for the lock, so it's not too out of sorts. I guess we're gonna have to do it, aren't we?
Reckon so. I don't know what else we could do to further the odds into our favour.
I have been quite unable to reach Mr. Lurk, who I believe would be our tipping point in an infiltration. I think that means that we take the surer bet.
Alright.
Are we prepared for what that means regarding McCreary?
Wish I was a little bit more prepared, but we seldom get an opportunity to decide on these things, do we?
Is this Mr. Pellew worth it?
Oh,
Doctor.
No. I believe he is. I just wanted to pose the question.
No, I was correct. He's not a mister.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I've got my modern brain on. I was like, well, he's a pharmacist, so he's got a degree in pharmacy.
He's such a badass. He's a pharmacist in retirement. It's his hobby to serve the medical needs of his community.
legend.
He
I was
fu-
gonna say Leech is like, oh,
He's
Bloody
man.
legend.
he's inventing new kinds of pill to make everyone get through the capitalist hellscape that is 1890s
Oh.
London, and he's dialing himself back to do it.
I wonder if he sells cocaine.
Probably.
He certainly sells cocaine. Certainly does. Good, delicious. Okay.
Oh yes, summon him immediately. He's my dealer.
Okay, so you're going to... So, you've decided that this answers the questions I was going to ask, the route and means. So you've decided to go with your boat. You're going to smuggle your cargo, as it were, the Doctor, down the canalway to the waterways, the sewers underneath the Millennium Club, not go on the open streets. So you can give a location to McAlliskey. Where is the Millennium Club on my little map? Okay, so you're actually going to be going away from the river. So you're going to be going up from the Long Acre, which is where Sullivan's is. Because I get to make up what kind of London this is, I can actually make London a little bit more canal-y than it is in real life. I can extend the canals a little bit closer to the river than they are in real life. So you can have him... There's a waterway that runs under St. Martin's Lane, which isn't far from Sullivan's funeral home. It's risky, but it is connected ultimately to the Millennium Club and then goes onwards until it joins the Regent's Canal. So that means that Dr. Pelly will spend the least time being smuggled topside before he reaches your boat. So essentially what I'm asking you is what percentage between the funeral home and the waterway do you want his journey to take place? Do you just want him to be on the water as soon as possible and in your control as soon as possible? Or what? It's up to you. I will gauge the difficulty accordingly.
I think water as soon as possible, just because if we aim for getting them in the water as soon as possible and there's a hitch, we can always take the streets. Whereas if we have we'll go down the streets so far and there's a problem there,
Yeah.
the water isn't really a route.
Sure, and also I guess that means he's in your control for the majority of the journey rather than relying on McAlliskey. Okay, fine. That's fantastic. So, is there any particular preparation you want to take to make the engagement advantageous? Is there any strings you want to pull, or favors you want to call in, or things you want to procure? I'm not saying this because I've thought of anything. Is there anything you want to do? You've been warned by McAlliskey that this is probably not going to be a clean getaway.
I think Leech would try and source some form of something that you could throw at her that would react with it. Some sort of couple of things that either makes smoke or.
Okay, well, so that usefully brings me to something we've never actually talked about, you and thee and me, and that's that you, as the Leech, have a bandolier of alchemicals. We have used it in a very abstract sense, but actually there are specific alchemicals that you have access to. I'm fairly confident some of which are smoke bombs, but let me know. See, the thing I hate about searching on PDFs is, okay, it thinks one word is another word. I can't stand that. So you have a bandolier of chemicals, and you have the following options, I think.
I do see them.
Yeah. So you could easily get a hold of a smoke bomb of some kind. You could conceivably get a hold of some kind of I mean, there's fire oil listed here. Oh, there's something called where is it? You could make up little vials of trance powder to throw at them from the boat.
Hell yeah.
Which if it hits them, will it doesn't knock them out. It puts them in a trance, but it will effectively knock them out because they won't be able to do anything while they're in it. Yeah, you can think of a few things.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the only thing I could think of doing.
Perfect. Okay, so that's fine. You get that sort of thing for free because you've got you can have up to 2 bandoliers on you, and each one has 3 alchemicals. And like with everything, you don't have to decide in advance what those 3 alchemicals are. You just decide you've got your bandolier, and I have a smoke bomb on me, and you throw. So that's absolutely fine, no problem there. So yeah, other than your own equipment, is there anything you want to try to prepare or acquire? No is a perfectly acceptable answer. I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity. Okay. So before we do engagement roll, everyone decide what your load is for this this mission. I will provide precisely 2 pieces of advice. They're not advice. I will remind you of 2 considerations. The first is you might consider a heavier load because you might be expecting an armed conflict. On the other hand, you are traveling by water. If you have a heavy load and you fall off the boat, you are going to have a very difficult time gaining control of your movement. So those are the 2 conflicting considerations to have there. But also bear in mind that because you have I can't remember what it's called, but your crew has a special ability where all of your load counts as 2 more. So you do have a certain amount. You have 2 free load effectively. So have a consider on that and tick on your character sheets what load you go for, and then I guess I'll roll engagement. In fact, what I'll do is I'll roll engagement and then we'll take a break. It's a little earlier than normal, but I think that's good because I think that means we'll have plenty of time to do the actual action. So yeah, let me know what load you go for, and then we'll proceed.
Normal.
Okay.
I too am going for a normal load.
Yeah, I mean, normal load is what, 7 for you guys, so
Yeah.
yeah. What about Mr. Spidaire? Well, you didn't say anything out loud, but I think I saw your lips form the word normal. So engagement roll. Oh, hoo, hoo. That's a noise I just made, and I really think we should leave me alone about it. So 1 die for showing up. I mean, there's no question that this is a daring plan. Does the plan's detail? So I'm going to take a die away, and that is because the canals are McCreary's territory, so he knows them very well, and he has advantage on them. Did any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight? Well, I'm not going to say friend, but certainly a contact provided you insight into this. I am going to 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. You are still on 1 die because McCreary's gang is a higher tier than you. So we are on 1 die. I have been given a minor help, however, from Dre, I think. So I'm going to add another die to engagement roll because you are honestly going to need all the help you can get on this one. So let's do that. What have we got? What have we rolled? We've rolled a 4. Oh, good, because the other die was a 1. You really don't want to be engaging on a 1. Okay. So I'll describe the situation, and then we'll go on break, and you can think about what to do with it. So you go on your little skiff. Now I should point out, there's no such thing as a quiet internal combustion engine. It's loud, it's smoky. I mean, it's not clean at all. I'm sure Mr. Leech will at some point be able to come up with a fuel that burns a little cleaner, but for now, you're stuck with I guess paraffin or something horrible. You don't have petrol, but well, maybe you do actually. The internal combustion engine is a couple of years old now. Anyway, it's not very clean, it's not very quiet, but you go there with plenty of time and you're waiting. And you hear a commotion, and a couple of men come down the stone steps onto the banks of the canal, holding a guy in a fireman's lift, who seems very flustered by everything, and pops him in your boat. And all they have time to say is, go now, they're on to us. So because you are at because you're at a fort on engagement, you are not immediately being chased. I'm going to start a clock before they are able to catch up with you, and that when that clock fills up, there will be an escalation of events. But until then, you can perhaps take actions to give yourself an advantage. You'll have the break to think about it. So it's 20-ish to the hour now. So I guess we'll be back around about the top of the hour. Whatever the hour is, it's going to be 5 p.m. around here, but it'll be something like that. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea and possibly something to eat, which I've not had yet today. So yeah, we'll see you at the top of the hour for the continuation of the Philosopher's Key, and hopefully the successful extraction of Dr. Palu, and not getting Mr. Hound horribly traumatized because his stress meter is actually really alarming. So yeah, we'll see you then. Cheerio.
Another thing about Chet Hanks.
Who is he?
Well, I think
when will he be born?
What Izzy's not to know, gang, is that we went live, and the very second Izzy went, "Oh, tell me another thing about Chet Hanks." Perfect. I couldn't have timed that better or done it on purpose, and I only did it slightly on purpose.
You actual butthole.
So actually, there is an interesting question in the chat. So thank you. First of all, thank you for the name Severine Bouchard. I love it. It will definitely be employed ASA bloody P. Your skiff does need a name. So have a ponder about
Skiffy
that.
McSkiff-face.
So Mike is banned,
Go.
but
I push Mr. Hound into the canal.
the Hound is gone. You'll never have to worry about him again.
Skiffinator 3000.
Ash is also
There we go.
gone. There's no call for this. Okay, so I've started a 4-segment clock with 1 segment in it. I haven't really thought this through, but we are going to do it anyway because that is what I said I would do. Is a clock. So
I'm sorry, I don't hate a Hyperion's plan. Since it's an honorary stranger, it should be called Mr. Skiff.
Mr. Sink, which is a great name. Mr. Float. Okay, Mr. Coffee. So I'm going to be a complete asshole and ask for rolls because it's an intense situation, and the internal combustion engine is really new. And you know lawnmowers, right? So I'm going. So, well, lawnmowers that run with a petrol engine are notoriously difficult to start. You start them with a chain pull, and it never works the first time. So, because you're in an intense situation, I am going to ask you to start your engine.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, this feels like a me job. This is manual labor, so
Yes.
Go on.
I can't do it.
I will attempt to start the skiff.
There are quite a lot of actions you could take to do this. I'm open to suggestions. Tinker's a possibility. Yeah.
Oh, if you want to tinker it, I will let you tinker it.
What were you gonna do? Fucking beat it around the head with it?
Yeah, I was gonna survey it and then maybe hunt it.
The easiest prey of your life. standing still.
Where is it?
Finesse and Tinker are both pretty good options for this, so
Okay.
I'm garbage at both. So off you go, Mr. Leech.
fantastic.
Alright, Tinkerer incoming. What are we doing? Risky?
I'm afraid it's going to be risky, and it's going to be at standard effect.
Standard? Oh, please, for the love of God.
Standard.
Stared it.
A 5. Fantastic. So you have succeeded at you've succeeded at the thing. The consequence for which is that it took a couple of pulls of the chain. So I'm going to add a segment to this clock I've invented. But you do get
All the clocks are clocks you've invented.
interesting. So you have started this. You can hear there's quite a commotion. You can hear people shouting things like, they're on the water. So you know that there are
Ah, who told?
What's that?
What's
I
that?
got a lens flare. J.J. Abrams is actually directing me today. So the twist is that I was the City of London.
Oh.
Yeah. So
The fifth
Ha-
member of the Gentleman Strangers.
hi everyone. So yeah, you got the skiff going. Now who's driving?
I'll drive.
Okay, so
Say not me.
So driving for those who want to make decisions, based on information, you don't have to. But the information I offer you is that driving a vehicle is usually a finesse. And I'm not going to ask you to roll right now, but in the event that you need to do some defensive driving or maneuvers of a particular kind, I will be asking you for those
Rolls.
finesse rolls. Okay, so you've got the engine going and you're away. The boat was designed to be fairly simple to control when you're going in straight lines. And you can hear that you can hear some commotion on the water some way behind you. Obviously, there are boats being deployed, but they are not going to be able to catch up to you just yet because you were on the ball. So off you go, and no one has explained to Dr. Pellew what is happening. So Dr. Pellew begins immediately to panic. Where are you taking me now? What's going on? Help me! Help me!
I think Mr. Spider is immediately going to spring into that situation,
Okay.
given that he's not driving the boat. And he's going to sort of swoop down and he's going to raise his cape as best he can and just say, Dr. Pellew, I urge you to keep your voice down. This is a rescue.
Okay, I'm going to ask you for a roll on that one because this guy does not believe you. So I'm going to ask you for some kind of test on this.
So what I was going to say was, I know that there's various ways that this could go, but my intention is, given how he's finally spoken, is this is classist as fuck, but it's Victorian London and I don't care.
No, sure.
Mr. Spider was hoping that by being the one to comfort him and sounding obviously very well spoken and clearly being quite well dressed, it was going to indicate that he wasn't being roughed up by Irish undertakers or Cockney canal thugs.
Okay. Well, from Dr. Pellew's point of view, he doesn't notice what you're wearing.
Yes, but I'm very posh.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to ask for a roll of some kind to convince him that you're posh. Enough that he should listen to you.
Perhaps a sway?
It could be a sway. I mean, sway is normally when you are trying to employ persuasive techniques such as lies and logic. This is a little bit more of a command, but...
Nope. Means the same to me. I have the same in both.
Since you're trying to get him to calm the hell down and just stop panicking.
Is this still risky?
This is risky because he is resisting. He is... A 3. Okay, so Dr. Pellew does not calm down. Dr. Pellew is in a desperate situation. He is fairly sure he's been taken to a place of execution. And I think the consequence of your failure is he makes a desperate lunge at Mr. Hound driving the boat.
Mr. Spider really misses Mr. Slide in this moment.
Mr. Hound, you're not going to come to any harm. But the consequence of this is that it is going to he's going to lunge himself at the rudder. So you're keeping the boat straight. He lunges off, and the boat lurches. So it's fairly easy to regain control of the man. But I am going to have to now ask you, Mr. Hound, to make a test to straighten the course of the boat before you end up doing a sort of a donut in the canal and potentially even crashing against the bank.
I have no beats in finesse.
Okay.
I conjure the devil.
I could. Oh, you want to hear a devil's bargain? Okay. You don't want to spend your last 2 stress on this? You shock me. You managed to regain control of the boat and immediately freak out and swim. Okay. The devil's bargain is your objective is to straighten the course of the boat so you can stay ahead of the people pursuing you. So there's no point offering you a devil's bargain where I fill up more of the clock, because we wouldn't take that. There's no point. My devil's bargain is that a horse will emerge and kick you in the head at some point in the future. my devil's bargain is I will give you the bonus die, but I always start my sentence. This is my big gemming trick for those who want gem tips, is start a sentence. If you don't know where it ends, it might buy you time. It hasn't in this instance. So you push away Dr. Pellew. My devil's bargain is this. You'll gain a die to straighten up the skiff, but whether you succeed or fail, the Doctor has managed to retrieve an item from your person that he will at some point later use against you.
All right, that's probably a gun. But yeah, okay, I'll take that die.
I mean, most of the items on your person are weapons of some kind, statistically.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, fantastic.
2.
Okay, so that is a 2. You have not managed to straighten the course of the boat, and what that means is that I'm going to completely fill up the chase clock. You have failed to straighten it up. So it's not a question of by the time you straighten it up, they've caught up with you. They have caught up with you, and you are not on course. You are presently essentially perpendicular to the course of the waterway. You are now essentially blocking part of the waterway as 2 skiffs come up to you, and effectively what happens now is that they draw pistols. And one of them shouts, "Hand him over, don't be stupid."
It'd be rude not to join them in the pistol drawing. I'm happy to escalate. I'm going to draw my fucking gun.
Okay. So, you've drawn your gun. One of them fires his pistol in the air to show that it's loaded and levels it back at you. Last chance, or the next one's going in your brain.
I'd like to fire my pistol into his leg to show him that
Okay.
mine is loaded also.
This is fantastic. So, I'm going to ask you to roll this. This is in desperate position because you are immobile and they outnumber you. The good news is, rolling in desperate position, of course, you will automatically earn an experience point in what I assume is prowess, because you're probably skirmishing, but I want to hear. You might be prowling, I guess.
I believe hunt is the shooteroonies.
You can do that, absolutely. No, yeah. Otherwise, yeah. You're not in close combat. Yes, so you automatically gain an experience point in insight for doing a desperate action, and yeah, roll hunt.
Desperate standard or
You are at desperate standard. I can offer you a devil's bargain, but it seems unfair at this point to stack the odds against you even more. But
I have the heart of the cards. I feel good in my die.
okay.
I shouldn't have.
Well, and the devil goes, well, you should have heard me out. So Photo Potato did offer a minor help before you made that roll, so please roll another die, because it's a desperate position. So, and it's
That's
a 6.
better.
So Photo Potato, you have turned a 3 into a 6 with your minor help. So the aid brigade has come through. Okay, so because it's a desperate position, you have succeeded. I am going to have to offer some kind of minor consequence. So you were aiming for the leg. You successfully hit the leg. You hit the fleshy part of the leg. He's not going to bleed to death, but he's not going to be able to stand up anymore. It doesn't take him 100% out of the fight, but he is not going to be a very effective combatant at this point. The consequence of this, I think, because you rolled a 6, I think it's going to not be a very effective one. I think I'm going to cash in my devil's bargain, and Mr. Hound, when the doctor lunged at you, the thing he took from you, the thing he took from you was a pistol.
Okay.
And the consequence of him, he takes the moment while you're distracted to try to shoot you. Dr. Pellew, although it's at point blank range, Dr. Pellew has no concept of the mechanics of wielding a pistol. He fires it. It doesn't hit you. It goes far wide of the mark. However, Mr. Spider, you are presently wrestling with Dr. Pellew, and so the noise of the shot has dealt you level 1 harm, ringing ears.
Didn't care for that shit.
Okay, I've added that, and now yeah, so that's it. That has escalated the fight. You can see that they are about to take their own shots. So, gentlemen strangers, it's over to you. Obviously, the boat is still not moving, but you have the initiative, gentlemen.
Are we close enough to throw things?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah.
They've stopped about 10 meters from you, so it's not it's not optimal, but certainly something heavy enough you could throw.
Wanted to throw some transponder, but I don't know if we're close enough to do that.
Well, you can certainly make the attempt. It's not impossible. I would probably give you reduced effect, but it's certainly possible. And you can push yourself or take a devil's bargain to make the effect stronger. So I think a devil's bargain can only add dice, but you can push yourself to up the effect, certainly.
Maybe I shall push myself. To throw some trans.
Okay, so take 2 stress.
Yep.
So you're throwing. So what you are trying to do is to subdue them with poison. I wonder what kind of roll I think this is. There are a couple of arguments for it. I guess because it's a vial of poison, it's kind of hunt. You're trying to aim a thing you're throwing. I guess I could hear finesse maybe because it's you're trying to do something very.
I don't have anything in either of those.
If it's a really desperate throw, I could hear wreck, though there are risks involved in doing a wreck in this context.
Is there?
Well, the risk of doing a wreck is that if you fail, you burst the vial of trance powder on yourself.
Oh Jesus Christ! No. Okay, we're not doing that.
But what you can do, because you've said you push yourself, is you could always take a die, instead of increased effect. So you'd be rolling at reduced effect, but you'd be rolling 1 die instead of 0 dice.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that. So, hunt, I guess.
Yeah. So roll hunt.
And
The
then-
position is you're in desperate position too. So yeah, that's desperate position.
effects.
Effect is either limited or reduced, whatever it calls it in roll
And
20,
then-
and you get 1 bonus die.
Sorry, okay.
Mr. Leech rolls a 6.
Yeah.
So first of all, you automatically gain an experience point in your insight track.
Really?
Yep, because you used hunt under desperate circumstances, but you've rolled a 6. Is there anyone in particular that you have aimed at with this vial?
So,
I know I haven't described specific people, but let's say there are 3 of them on each boat. So there's 1 driver on each boat and 2 shooters on each boat. One of the shooters has just taken a bullet to the leg from Mr. Hound.
okay, I probably will. Which one looks like it would be? Whichever one looks like the most likely to hit, if that's possible.
I actually, yes, I didn't hear the full sentence that you spoke.
Sorry. Closest or more able to hit the shot.
Okay, so because they are pursuing you and have their front ends towards you, it's probably not going to be the drivers because they'll be at the back of the skiff with the rudder. But yeah, one of the shooters, absolutely. So yeah, you throw the vial, and it's been specially constructed. It's very thin. It's laboratory glass, so it's test tube glass. It's designed to smash on pretty much impact with anything. It hits him full on in the chest, and the vapors, and you just see him space out immediately. Like you know the effects of this stuff. It's a mix of various sorts of chemicals, but the effects are generally dizziness, nausea, lightheadedness. He's going to be out of it he'd probably be out of it until well after you've arrived back at the Aventine, assuming you ever arrive back at the Aventine. Very, very, very nice. Mr. Spider.
Hello. I realise now that people are throwing and shooting things and not driving the boat. And that's difficult because driving the boat is the thing we're supposed to be doing.
Fair.
And also Spider is a little discombobulated and quite annoyed. So he is going to throw himself towards the drive plate, wherever Mr. Hound has stepped away from in order to take his shot. And I would like to use Rook's Gambit, which means Mr. Spider is going to be basically in that moment of absolute frenetic energy, staring at the dashboard and doing.
Oh, you want to use study? You want to use study to drive the boat? Okay.
This is normal. This handle was here. This is this.
Yeah, I like that.
And he's muttering to himself even though he can't hear it. And he goes, I know. And then we'll drive the throttle forward and hopefully drive the boat with study.
Okay, so yeah, take 2 stress and roll study.
Is this still risky?
You are in a desperate position because you are going to be taking fire. I'm going to offer a devil's bargain. I will give you an extra die, but your untrained attempt to get the engine going again will damage it sufficiently that the next time the engine stops, it will not start without repair.
Oh, no. No dice.
Okay.
You tempting devil, you.
I mean, my argument that you should take it is that you need to get this boat moving. If all goes well from here on out, the next time the boat stops, it will be in the little dock under the Millennium Club, and you can get it repaired.
Some dice. Oh, you tempting devil, you. Who let this man keep talking? Yeah, I'll take it. That sounds fair.
Fantastic. So roll study. You're at desperate position, standard effect with 1 bonus die. And please also mark an experience point. You've rolled a 4, so you have successfully gotten the boat into gear.
Boat gears.
Well, it certainly has to have some kind of throttle on it. So you managed to get the boat steered. You are now once again on course and presently in control of the boat. You rolled a 4. The boat gears at the drive plate. Photo Potato is correct. We have all used the right terms for this.
We know about boating.
Okay. So the consequence for your unfortunately is that you do take a hit. You are fired upon as you do so. Because you've managed to get the boat moving, I'm going to say that it's I think it's still level 2 harm. Yeah, it's level 2 harm, shot in the arm. Which obviously you can attempt to resist if you like. Okay.
But Mr. Spider does make quite a sad noise, because that hurts.
Okay. You've marked your special armor. What uses your special armor?
Oh, I thought I had to mark it to indicate that I had it.
No.
Oh, that's on me.
Special armor is not an object that you have. Special armor is an ethereal concept representing I've got a desperate trick I can perform if I need to.
Cool. Well, I've got it. You just watch yourself.
Special armor is a laser grid that you deploy over yourself.
Well,
the thing is, when I run my Cyberpunk podcast, it could be a laser grid you deploy. I don't know. I don't know from Cyberpunk. Okay, so Mr. Leech has successfully incapacitated one of the pursuers. Mr. Hound has successfully, essentially, completely incapacitated another one, and Mr. Spider has gotten the boat moving. I would say that you're actually off to a pretty decent start, but they are on the case. So, gentlemen strangers, the boat is moving. You don't want them seeing where you park. So over to you. Ash, I could not hear what you said.
Said, would anyone else like to take?
I mean, you say that, but now might be the time for a smoke bomb or two.
That was gonna be my.
Okay.
I could drop like 2 smoke bomb.
Can they be water reactive ones that that Leech drops on the canal and it forms like canal fog?
So you can drop some. I like to think you've probably. I'm gonna say you. No, I'm not gonna say anything. What I'm gonna suggest is this. Having a couple of hours in advance of doing this, Mr. Leech will have had time to modify the smoke bombs so that they'll float on the water rather than just sink to the bottom of it, dispensing smoke uselessly into the water. That will be a flashback that will cost 1 stress, or you can just not bother.
I'm just gonna. Just stress and trauma. I'm just gonna take the stress.
Absolutely. Okay. So take 1 stress. Take 1 stress, and you have.
Says much more that's like.
So you're going to stylishly lob 2 smoke bombs onto the water. I imagine they've been mounted in little cork life belts, essentially. So, yeah, okay. Okay. So this could be a tinker or a finesse. You're not lobbing it at a person. So I don't think it's hunt. You're deploying them.
Basically. Tinker would be great.
Yeah, I think tinker's fine. I think tinker is fine. Because you're making sure you're timing them right. Because if you time them wrong, they deploy on the boat.
We're not good.
So yeah, roll me a tinker. Do I have any devil's bargains to offer you? I don't. I don't think I do.
What position are we at? Still desperate?
You are now at risky position because you are now moving, so they can't get. You were fishing a barrel before.
Fishing a canal. Maybe. Standard or
Not in this canal.
Risky standard.
let's go.
A 6. Wow, fantastic.
Mate, I'm on
You are on
fire.
fire. There've been lots of 6s. I'm really happy. So, you pull the cap on the smoke bombs, so the air rushes into them and the reagents begin to fizzle, and you roll them out, and your timing is perfect. As the smoke, and the smoke we should be imagining is it's got that yellowish tinge to it. It's like the sort of smoke you get when you burn damp wood or there's not enough oxygen. It's horrible smoke. It's acrid and it gets in the eyes and the back of the throat. And you did specifically say you deploy 2 of them at once, which I think basically creates a screen over the entire width of the canal. It's only a narrow waterway. And you can hear coughing and so on because their breath is inhibited. Their vision is obviously impaired. They're coming forward through it. So, a few seconds later they come out of the smoke. But by the time they've come out of the smoke, although it hasn't impaired their vision because they're out of it, their eyes are stinging and watering, like their noses are running, their throat. Like it could have like all sorts of capsaicin like stuff in it, like anything spicy or acrid, plenty of tar. So they are on your case, but they are going to have a much harder time getting any kind of accurate shot against you because you rolled a 6. You timed it so perfectly that they don't even get off a couple of pot shots because they have taken full lungfuls of this stuff, and as they're trying to rid their lungs of it, they don't have time to line up shots. As you're proceeding down the canal, you can hear that there are people on the street calling out in dismay because, of course, there have been gunshots and there's obviously some kind of a fray occurring. So yeah, fantastic, excellent work, Mr. Leech. The chase continues.
I suppose since they can't see us, we can't see them, so returning fire at this stage.
Oh no, they can't see you because their eyes are full of acrid chemicals. Because you've moved out of the smoke, you actually can see them fine. Well, you can't. Well, you can't specifically because Mr. Hound still has blurred vision. But you can see, like, you can make out their shapes. You couldn't tell me what their facial expressions are. But certainly you can see them to line up a shot at reduced effect.
It will not be a reduced effect because I'm tough as nails.
Fantastic.
But I will line up that shot because one thing I want to set in motion now is that we are going to consistently return fire, so that if we then get to the point where we can slip the canal boat out of sight,
Yeah.
one of us with a gun, probably me, can get off the canal boat, continue further down
Right.
the canal and keep firing.
Great, I love that. That's fantastic.
But I will also try and take out the other one of the two that were on the one where I initially shot the guy in the
Yep.
leg. Because if I can
Perfect.
shoot the other guy in the arm, all the better.
Mm.
So a risky standard on a hunt.
Yes.
Before he rolls,
Mm-hmm.
I should like to assist because I can, and I feel like that will be very helpful.
How do you assist?
I think that we do a quick moment where I knew that Mr. Leech was going to be bringing his horrible smoke bombs because he was pretty gleefully telling Mr. Spider, and look, and this will get stuck to their eyes, and then this is full of pepper, and the pepper will get right in his eye ducts, and then his eyes will come out, and it'll...
So can I just check? Is Mr. Leech Mrs. Crocombe?
Yeah.
During
Somewhat.
her younger years, she took on fighting crime in the streets of.
Mr.
Fine.
Leech's first name is Avis.
Okay, right.
Yeah, and so Mr. Spider's like, oh, that sounds ghastly. And is going back to whatever he's doing. And so has brought up, at least something like a gauze or a slightly finer fabric, maybe a silk or a something like that, a silk mesh, and throws it over his shoulder towards Hound, who is now going to be turning, facing the billowing smoke. And even though, you know, we're driving away from it, even the slightest thing in his eye is going to cause grief. So Spider basically goes, Hound, and just throws it over his shoulder, expecting Mr. Hound to be ready because they are a good team.
I mean, and also in fairness, your engine is kicking out a certain amount of smoke as well. So even though it's not the chemical acridity that Mr. Leech's smoke has, it's still not helping. So yeah, absolutely. Normally, of course, that would cost you a stress, but you're a spider, and so I think your first couple of assists do not. So Mr. Hound, you may take an extra die on your hunt.
I extra die. I'm going to steal this handkerchief. This is turned out to
Perfect.
be a great
Well,
die.
fantastic.
I'm shooting people.
It's a great evening. It's a great night out. Okay, 5. Fantastic.
So I'll be back in just 2 seconds.
Yep, fine.
Sure thing.
So, you successfully shoot one of the. I think. What are you aiming to do with this bullet, Mr. Hound?
I want to ideally shoot the gun arm of the other gunman on the boat where I made my first hit.
Okay. So I think that I'm imagining like a shoulder shot because it's a reasonably big sort of it takes the arm out, big target. No problem, and it's on the right side, so it's not likely to hit anything vital unless you miss. But you didn't, so you take a shot. Risky standard. Okay, so you've incapacitated his gun arm. He sort of falls backwards from the surprise of the pain. But as he sees you leveling his gun towards you, towards him, he does raise his own and reflexively squeeze the trigger a couple of times. So I am going to. I think it's just level 1 harm. I'm going to offer you level 1 harm. Bullet grazed.
I have armor.
You have armor?
I have armor.
Fine. That's that gone.
Cool.
Okay, so
That's
yeah.
right. I was looking for the usage thing. I found it now. Thank you.
Right, okie dokie. So you've done that. Izzy's away. So we'll assume that Mr. Spider is continuing to concentrate on getting the getting things moving.
I will offer by way of what could happen next
Mhm.
a little yell over my shoulder of how's the doctor doing? Because we've not really had bead on the doctor.
No, that's very true. So I think that Mr. Leech,
Probably talk to the doctor.
Mr. Spider has had to abandon wrangling Dr. Pellew to take control of the engine. I think he's been successfully disarmed. I think the noise of it, he probably dropped the pistol and realised that he's more likely to hurt himself than anyone else. So yeah, Mr. Leech, the doctor is still calling for help. He's trying to attract the attention of anyone on the street above to rescue him before it's too late.
Well, I would like to. Is he like standing?
Is he doing what? Sorry.
Is he standing up or is
No,
he
no,
like
no,
sat
no.
on the floor?
He's sat. There's a little bench that runs around the inside of it. He's sitting, but he's waving desperately to try to. He daren't stand.
Okay. Well, I want to somehow get to him. I imagine it's not a big boat. So.
No.
But I'm at the bottom. I'm at the back, so that's me throwing. I'd like to get down to his level and say to him, "You're with the gentlemen strangers. Everything's going to be fine. Friends of, well, we know of Harry. Something along the lines of."
Okay. So yeah, roll something for me to try to calm him down. It sounds like a sway to me.
Sway him.
Since you're trying to appeal to him to calm down in a sort of
But,
by reference to.
Like, and he has a shop on King Street, which is, what position?
This is risky position, I think.
Yep.
Because it's risky position until he's calmed down. Okay, you have rolled a 1. I think
Definitely the mask.
it's, you know what, I'm starting to think people don't like. Okay, so there's a moment where he looks like he might be about to listen to you, but he's still in a panic. I think now, what's he more likely to do? One of you. I don't think he would. I think he's going to to try to make a desperate leap onto the bank of the canal. I am going to give you a roll, an opportunity to roll. You can either spend stress to resist this consequence, in which case you'll spend stress, but you will manage to wrangle him back into the boat. Or I can offer you an action roll where you don't have to spend stress unless you want to, but there might be other consequences to the roll. Or you can let it happen.
How much stress am I spending here?
It's actually determined. This is resisting a consequence. So what you would do is you would roll your prowess. You'd click on prowess, and you spend stress. It's 6 minus the die that you roll. 6 minus the highest die that you roll. So you could potentially roll 6, and it's fine.
Okay.
Or you could roll 1 and you spend 5 stress, and that fills your stress meter up.
Is just stop stress being taken?
No, not when you're resisting. The way you the way you would not spend stress in this case is to take the other option I offered you, which is to roll an action instead to try to restrain him. I'm going to spell out the exact stakes for you because in Blaze in the Dark, the players are supposed to know what's going on. If you make the roll, the risk of failure is that one or both of you will end up over the side and into the canal. But the risk of you spending stress is that you end up filling your stress meter, which you also don't want to do.
Oh. I don't know. Oh, God's sake. Can I? Just.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
What would it be? What action would it be to? stop it?
The most likely action is a skirmish because that's the one you use for wrestling. I could hear prowl. I think they're the same for you though, aren't they?
Yeah. Am I able to push myself on that?
You can, yeah. You can spend you can spend 2 stress to gain a die.
Right, I'm gonna do that.
Or someone else could spend 1 stress to assist you, or I could offer you a devil's bargain.
Okay, what would your devil's bargain be?
My devil's bargain is that you gain the bonus die, but in the tussle, your bandolier of alchemicals ends up going over the side, and you don't have access to them anymore.
I have 2.
Well, you would lose them both. Well, you've spent you only have 1 left, don't you? Because
that's true.
you spent 3 chemicals already. So yeah, your remaining bandolier would end up.
Right, I'm gonna take the action, take 2 stress for an additional dice.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're gonna skirmish for me, are you?
Risky?
It's actually going to be. Is it desperate? I think it's desperate because he really is fighting for his life.
Yeah.
Desperate standard.
And then plon. Here we go.
The answer to that is only one help or hinder from trash points. This is because everyone has thousands and thousands and thousands of points, and I can't. I won't notice if I get an enormous number of helps and hinders flying in.
33.
And so in response to not being able to offer a second help, a minor hinder has been. I can't hinder Ash any more than this. I'll say, Dre. I will save that hinder for something else. Ash, I can't hinder you anymore. You rolled a fail at desperate. A fail at desperate is actually.
Mark that XP though.
Get me hit
Oh,
on the head by a
do mark XP in
yeah.
in the track that has
skirmish.
skirmish. Okay, a fail at desperate is not good news.
It was going so well.
A fail at desperate is. I was wrong earlier when I said that someone had successfully disarmed the doctor. Mr. Leech kind of forgot that the doctor had a pistol in all of the confusion. And so, although you managed to wrench the doctor into the boat, you have taken a shot to the gut, and you are in the canal. You are over the side of the boat, and I have dealt you level 3 harm. Gut shot. This is really, really bad news because level 3 harm basically incapacitates you, which means you are not going to be able to swim safely to shore or get yourself back on the boat. You can attempt to resist this harm if you wish.
How much stress does that take?
It's a variable amount of stress. You would essentially roll, I think, prowess, and you would hope to roll as high as possible.
Is Leech about to join us in the trauma club?
Leech has a very good chance of joining you in the trauma club.
I think Leech might have to join you in the job.
Okay, so
Join us. It's fun. You adopt random women and talk to your dead former colleague.
the way this works is that you click on prowess,
Yeah.
and that's it. And you roll,
Just
and
submit.
then you submit. Okay, I'm sorry to say, you have you would take 4 stress if you had room to take 4 stress on your roll. So the following things happen: resistance is automatically successful.
Oh.
So you have reduced it from level 3 harm to level 2 harm. So I'm just going to say you've been shot in the side.
Okay. Ooh.
It's a flesh wound. It's really painful, and you are bleeding. But you're not incapacitated. You're in an enormous amount of pain. You are still over the side of the boat. That's not the thing that you are resisting. However, you have filled your stress bar, which means I have good news and bad news. The good news is your stress bar is now emptied, back to 0. The bad news is your trauma bar has now 1 permanent mark in it. This has a number of consequences, some immediate and some less immediate. The immediate consequence is that Mr. Leech is now out of the score. It might be that you're pulled back onto the boat. It might be that you desperately swim to shore. But either way, you are in a state of extreme traumatic stress. You are unable to coherently interact. Basically, the only thing you can do is act on instinct to run away from danger. They might try to pull you up onto the boat. You might tell me, no, I just bolt. I just swim for the shore. That'll be up to you. The less immediate result, and this is something you do have time to think about, really, between now and next week, you'll see next to trauma, there are a number of words: cold, haunted, obsessed, paranoid, reckless, soft, unstable, and vicious. These are personality traits. Every time you feel a trauma tick, you pick one of these personality traits. This is a personality trait that you have gained. It's not something you have to do anything with, but it might inform your future role play. And if you engineer a situation, or let me engineer a situation where your trauma gets you in trouble, you will get experience points for it. So there is a mechanism by which you can really be rewarded by letting your traumas affect you. Well, another thing trauma means is that every downtime, if you don't indulge one of your vices, you'll automatically gain stress. So it is the beginning of your downward spiral to being a wreck of a human being. But you'll have time to think about which kind of trauma you want to take, which kind of personality trait you want to take. But right now I'm going to ask you, does Mr. Leech make a desperate swim for shore so that she can patch her wound? Or does she try to get back on the boat? It's entirely your choice.
I'm going to say that in her mind, the boat needs to keep going.
Right.
But her mind, I should say. The boat is going. It needs to keep going. There's no point stopping. They will. And fingers crossed, hopefully the other boats don't realise that they're in the water and swimming. And
Okay. I mean, I've already described that they're not. Their vision is obscured. I don't think that with all the commotion that's going on, bearing in mind this is all kind of happening at the same time, I'm just going to say they're not going to notice you. Okay, so you're going to just desperately claw yourself onto shore, put pressure on your wound, and just
I think, yeah,
process.
Their first thing is going to get me out of the water.
Okay.
Dying, actively.
So there's a bit of wrestling that happens. Mr. Spider and Mr. Hound, you see Mr. Leech trying to calm down Dr. Pellew. Dr. Pellew lunges for Mr. Leech or tries to get off the boat himself. Mr. Leech dashes forward. There's a bit of a tussle, and then you hear bang. And there's a second where the whole world is still. And Mr. Leech clutching at his side, rolls off the boat. For a moment, you think, "Oh no, Mr. Leech has been killed," but no. Gasping and crying out in pain, Mr. Leech, holding her masked head above the water, manages to claw up to the shore, and you are moving forward. I mean, you are already gone, but what you do realize with some relief is that both of the boats are still pursuing you, and there has been no comment passed that one of them has fallen out of the boat. The doctor has likewise become overwhelmed with the stress of the situation, and I think he's essentially in a brace position. I think he's realized he's in too much danger. He's not going to be able to escape. So in a sense, Mr. Leech has, by great sacrifice, succeeded in pacifying the doctor, but now it's just the two of you. Mr. Spider, we skipped over you. So what would you like to do?
Mr. Spider is not super thrilled about the even brief moment of thinking that Mr. Leech was dead. Because, no matter how much... Also, Spider is pragmatic. Izzy knows the mechanics of the game. Spider sees Leech go in the canal with a bleeding wound and thinks, "Oh, well, that's sepsis. He'll be dead by morning." Like, I look forward to being delighted and surprised when Mr. Leech wanders back in with a big old bandage and we go, "Oh, Leech, you're alive." But, Spider is a realist about what that means. And is not feeling super great about it. And so I think he is now going into the scheme of just getting this man back to the club.
Mm-hmm.
And so since Hound is watching the rear, I think he's just going to look at Hound and say, blindfold him. And we have a bag or something to go over his head.
Sure. Okay.
And he is holding on to the boat's controls.
Are you going to attempt to accelerate? Or is it slow and steady wins the race?
It's slow and steady wins the race.
Understood.
Mr. Spider is not reckless.
And he's I guess that's true. He's not a comfortable pilot.
But his knuckles are white on the controls of the boat.
So yeah, Mr. Hound, you can black bag Dr. Pellew. I'm not gonna. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, but the chase is still on. One of the boats has stopped pursuing you because although the driver is intact, both of the gunmen upon it have been incapacitated. So you are now pursued by only one boat, but they are more determined than ever to catch up to you, and you hear them shout, "Speed up, get alongside." So Mr. Hound, over to you.
I will kind of black bag, tie up the doctor, cast a worried glance down the canal to where we last saw the presumed dead Mr. Leech. Quick check-in with Spider saying, "You good driving?" And then on I don't think even an affirmative is necessary. I'm going to get up as high as I can. I'm going to draw both pistols, and I'm going to start. No, in fact, no. I'll swap out for the long rifle.
Ooh,
start taking larger shots at the driver of the oncoming boat.
So you take out your fine long rifle. Yeah, make a shot, and this is going for the driver.
Yep.
Understood.
Risky standard.
Yep, risky standards.
I'll take that 5.
Okay, you have rolled a 5. This is a rifle. So there's no... This is a rifle. You have killed this man. And he probably falls forward out the back of his boat. Their engine is on, but without someone keeping a weight on the rudder, they're not going to be able to maintain a straight course. The consequence for this, I think... I think that as you're, because you have to line up a shot with the rifle, it's not a quick shot. I think some fire is going to be taken. Here's what I'm going to do with that. I think one of them gets off a shot, but it's not against you. The shot they get off strikes the engine, the motor of your own boat. You may attempt to resist this consequence, but I will tell you now, it's not going to immobilize you. It will mean that the boat will absolutely need repairs. When it gets back to the docks. Your boat is now, you're not going to be able to do any complicated maneuvers, Mr. Spider. You're basically able to do straight lines at not particularly vast speeds, and turning. The good news is that Mr. Hound has killed the driver of the last boat following you, so you are able to get out far enough ahead that although your speed is declining and your maneuverability is declining, you are able to make it to the secret dock of the Millennium Club before they catch up with you, so you have arrived successfully and they will not be able to find where you have gone.
Mr. Spider is slightly struggling to control the boat, but he manages it with a bump rather than a crash.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to add a note onto the crew. I'm going to add a clock onto the crew thingy called boat repair. So there we go. That's downtime actions to repair the boat or get someone to come and repair the boat. After some time, in more civilized settings, and with more time to think about what to say, you are able to calm down Dr. Pelly. You can mention that you're here on behalf of his wife, that you are the gentleman strangers, and that he may have heard that they are now the protectors of King Street, and so on and so forth.
That will likely have to have been Mr. Hound. Mr. Spider, you can write as much fancy lines as you want. Mr. Spider doesn't have those words in him at the moment.
Okay, I'm just abstracting.
No,
whatever it is,
abstracting
gets it
fine.
done.
I'm just saying, Mr. Spider is quite angry.
And a few hours later, you hear the front door of the Millennium Club opening and the sound of a body falling. And when you come down, you see Mr. Leech has returned, breathing very heavily through that horrible mask. You can see that Mr. Leech has, I think, cut open his coat and his jacket underneath to have bandaged up the wound, to cleaned it up and patched it up. He needs proper medical care if he's going to recover, but he's conscious. Mr. Leech, so you have your senses restored to you. The panic overtook you for a good amount of time, but you recovered your senses after a little while, and survival mode kicked in. You went, I know how to clean a wound. I know from your. Did he end up throwing your chemical bandolier away? But
No.
you managed to find some high proof alcohol or something, and you doused the wound, and it stung, but you barely felt it because honestly, at this point everything hurts. You cleaned the wound. You've managed to get it very, very rudimentarily bounded up. And you return to the Millennium Club. Yeah.
Is everyone there? Like,
Yeah, I think Hound will actually rush to Leech's side. I nearly sent my dog looking for you.
it would have helped.
You look like shit, and I can't even see your face.
I really need some
Do
medical.
you have someone in mind?
Or did you get him back?
He's here.
What kind of state is he in?
Settled now.
He's probably our best bet.
If you say so.
Put Leech in the lounge. I shall go and fetch the doctor.
Alright, up you come. I'll help Leech up. I will usher Leech into the lounge. Like, arm over, like, arm around waist. Oh, that's a lot of water. I'll deal with that in a second. Arm around waist. What a dickhead. It's going down my router and everything. That's crazy. Oh, I'm role playing, damn it.
Oh, right. But for
Oh,
how much longer?
Slightly froze then as well, and I thought,
Oh no, here it
Here it
goes.
comes. Here it goes. Arm around waist, drag Leech in. Without even offering, we'll kind of go and get something strong out of the liquor cabinet for him. In fact, probably the same drink that was ordered earlier and just perched nearby.
What?
Oh, fucking hell. I'm going to mute for a second. This is worse than I thought.
Okay, we'll go to Mr. Spider. Mr. Spider, you go and you go to the room where you've deposited Dr. Pellew.
He's going to go in and he's going to crouch down. And he's going to look over Pellew's shoulder and he's going to say, "Now you listen here. I have been as accommodating as I can be, but a good man almost died tonight to rescue you. And strangely enough, it was far more your fault than it was McCreary's. So you are going to come and you are going to look at his wounds and you are going to ensure that he lives the night. Because I rescued you, partly as a favour to your wife, and partly as a favour to him. So if he dies, we shall have no further use for you.
What?
Am I understood?"
I understand you, but I do not see why you would need my help.
You have medical knowledge, do you not?
No, I think you're thinking of a nurse.
Well then, Nurse Pellew, you shall come and assist us.
I will... I am not a doctor. I have no more medical knowledge than you seem to. Unless you want me to concoct something to anesthetize the poor man, there's not much I can do to help.
It may well be necessary, but either way, you were brought here for his sake, so if he dies, he might well talk with you first, or this whole evening was quite the waste.
Well, I will acknowledge that you have taken me at least out of the hands of McCreary, though I will not yet call it a rescue, since I am still your prisoner.
You are welcome. And Mr. Spider will hold the door open for him.
Yeah, he'll go down and see Mr. Leech. This man has been shot. I think I did it.
You definitely did.
Well, it wasn't on purpose. I wasn't holding the gun at the time. You lunged for me, if I recall. Now, What is it that you want me to do to you?
I need some really strong.
Well, I don't have.
Okay, my doctor's bag.
Oh, I see. You're a doctor. Very well. All right. Goodness me. What are you running a field hospital in the peninsula?
Disinfectant.
Yes. I suppose. He sets about helping you clean the wound. There. Well, I suppose. Thank you for getting me out of McCreary's hands.
Mhm.
Ned.
I think. Leech. The bullet is still in there. That needs to come out.
The bullet's it was probably a through and through. The bullet's probably out of you. What you need is to get the wound properly sewn up.
Okay.
Which means one of Mr. Spider and Mr. Hound is just going to have to get needle and thread.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Happy to do it.
Okay, yeah. You can take your time with that. I think I don't have the heart to make you roll for it. No, wait. I do, and I shall tell you why. Because there is a minor hinder that I haven't used.
Oh.
So I'm going to ask you to do a finesse for me.
Oof. Ugh. Give me a devil's bargain.
The devil's bargain. I don't know what
I'm
devil.
shot again.
Gun comes out of my
Yeah,
stomach.
Mr. Leech panics and produces fire. I mean, the problem is, what devil's bargain is there? The consequences of failure is he keeps bleeding.
Content warning: we're about to do field surgery.
I'm not going to describe it.
I don't know. Lose some gauze in there. I don't.
Okay, the devil's bargain is I will give you a bonus die, but I'll give you a bonus die, but because you've never done this before, it'll be just a little clumsily done, even if you succeed. So I'll remove a die from the first downtime heal check.
Love it.
Any scars?
What?
Okay.
3.
Okay, so that's a 3. So I'm not going to say that's a failure, because inevitably you're going to succeed because you're going to keep trying, right? So I think we're just going to go with it's very clumsily done. Mr. Leech, you do continue to lose a fair amount of blood. By the time it's finally done, you are feeling very weak indeed.
I wonder, would I have any sort of concoctions of heart rate?
What? Sorry?
Should do what?
Something that would slow my heart rate take. That would.
Oh, I don't know.
Would matey bloke, whatever his useless name is.
Well, he doesn't have anything on him at all. But
My bag.
I'm sure you could have something to help relax your heart, to stop it
Out so much blood.
squeezing all your blood out of you. Yeah. So you yeah, that is true. Actually, opium does do that. Okay, so yeah, you are patched up. You are going to need real medical attention. All that Mr. Hound has really managed is a few layers of gauze and some loose stitches. That's not really quite good enough. But you can probably manage with that now that you've been stabilized. It'll just take some time. Right. Well, am I your prisoner, or can I return to King Street?
There was a reason why we. And I think Leech would just So the letter is all wet and it's been in the canal. So they I had my jumper stuck on my nose ring. Sorry, that was
Amazing. Do you mean the letter, or do you mean the chemical formula that Hyde gave you? I'm only asking because a letter isn't going to mean anything to Dr. Pellew, is it?
Sorry, yes, no. Yeah, the chemical formula. Sorry, yeah. Ignore the letter bit. Briefly explain, kind of. I'll just say that I've heard of. How do I word this? They've come to our attention because we need a formula. I seem to be the only person that would be able to do it.
He gives the formula a look over. Mm-hmm. My goodness, who devised this?
Some bloke named.
Right. Well, it's very imaginative. And you want me to whip you up a batch of this stuff, do you?
Well, I'd appreciate it if you at least tried.
And you'll let me go tonight?
If it works, yeah.
Well, what do you mean if it works?
Well, you whip up said batch.
Well, I need to go home to make it, don't I? So you'll let me go? I'll make you whatever this is.
Yep. And
Might take me some time. Some of the components here are not exactly in the normal repertoire of a London pharmacist, but I think
Well-
I think I can procure most of what you need.
you could probably tell I won't going anywhere fast. I would say take all the time that you need, but
Well, I suppose rescuing me is worth a few quid, so it'll be on me, all right? Shall I send you a letter here? Send you a note here when I'm finished?
Yeah.
Where are we anyway? Never mind. I'll find
Don't
my
worry.
way. Is there an actual door out of the building? You brought me in through the cellar.
I'll
Sorry.
see you out.
Thank you. Yeah, you take Dr. Pellew out to the front door, and he tries to gather himself up as well as he can. You can see he's had quite a bad turn done to him by McCreary and his men. He's clearly been beaten up quite badly. He tries to gather up his coat as well as he can and try not to look dishevelled, but he's definitely hobbling a little bit as he walks back. He's not quite steady on his feet.
Doctor,
Yes?
what was it McCreary wanted you for?
Never you mind. And he hobbles off down the street.
Indeed.
Okay, so congratulations. You have successfully acquired the Philosopher's Key. A few days later, 4 or 5 days later, you get a note, and you're able to go to King Street and collect a vial of the substance. Mr. Leech, it's fairly easy. You put it in a syringe and you inject it into the lock. As I said, there's a strange sconce. Inject it, and for about a minute, there's not much happening, and then you hear sort of fizzing coming from inside the lock, and then the whirring of a mechanism, and the wall slinks in and comes away and reveals a very well appointed laboratory. There's a lot to explore. There's piles of notes, mechanisms that Jekyll had been tinkering with, bottles of reagents and pieces of glassware you're not 100% sure what the use are. And upon the desk, are you all with Mr. Leech at this?
Definitely, yeah.
Without a shadow
Gotta
of a doubt.
protect my boy.
In which case, upon the desk, there is a photograph. It shows several people. One of them is Madam Whisper, in crystal clear focus, as if she was standing as still as a statue. Her eyes are blacker than any other area of darkness in the photograph. Next to her is a man whose face is difficult to discern, as if it were veiled by as if it were. I mean, if you and I saw it in the modern day, we'd say it had been scrambled somehow on a piece of Photoshop software. But obviously that's not possible. But his face is very difficult to discern, and it shows Mr. Spider and Mr. Slide, 8 years younger than they are now, wearing the same distinctive masks that they were wearing, that Mr. Spider still wears. The suit is probably different, but the mask, the hat, the style, the distinctive, discerning expression in his eyes. The photograph is dated to 9 years ago and is simply labelled "The Gentlemen Strangers." Jekyll is not pictured, since presumably he is operating the camera. And there we will leave it on that strange revelation, as we talk about the consequences of tonight's score. Oh boy, consequences.
I think we got some heat.
Oh, yes, you did. So this was a loud thing that happened. So that gives you 4 heat.
Yeah.
This score took place on hostile turf, which all of the canals of Camden are. So that gives you +1 heat. Someone did die, which gives you +2 heat, but you didn't leave a calling card behind, so Sergeant Walker was able to reduce the heat by 1. So you only take 6 heat.
Okay.
So that's not quite enough to fill up your wanted level, but you are 1 away from filling up your wanted level from 1 to 2, which is not amazing. Reputation-wise, your reputations are mysterious and honourable. You're definitely going to earn some rep for this. I'm going to give you 2 rep for that, because I think it's quite a daring thing that... No, I'm going to give you 3. It's quite a daring thing that... I'm going to give you 4. That lots of people will have heard of. Now let's talk about war. Because the Gentlemen Strangers are now at war with the McCreary outfit. You have crossed the line 1 too many times, and McCreary has decided that you are a nuisance, and that, like any nuisance, you should be swatted. This has mechanical implications for you. Because you are at war, your faction's hold drops. Your faction's hold is weak, which means that your tier has dropped from 1 to 0 until the end of the war. It means that any time you gain heat, you gain 1 more heat. Ah, what did I just say? You have filled up your heat meter, which means you now have wanted level 2. I'm going to remind you that the only way to reduce your wanted level is that someone has to serve time for your crimes. It doesn't have to be someone who committed the crimes. You could frame someone for them, for example, but someone has to be incarcerated in order for the wanted level to go down. Or at the highest levels, possibly even executed. For the duration of the war, you are only capable, because you have to spend so much time taking care not to be assassinated in the streets, you can only take 1 downtime action each. Now, you can purchase additional downtime actions, and some of you, for example, Mr. Spider, have special abilities that allow a second downtime action, but your base number of downtime actions has gone down from 2 to 1. And as long as the war goes on, McCreary and his outfit will do everything they can to do you and everything that you control as much harm as he can, even if it's not advantageous to him to do so, even if he has to expend resources to do so. And he will expect the same from you, whether you intend to reciprocate or not.
And we all have trauma, so if we don't indulge our vices, we get stress.
Which means that, yes, yeah, so absolutely. It's going to mean some very difficult stuff for Mr. Leech, who has not only, well, actually, I think you all have both traumas and wounds to deal with. So that will make Downtime a much more precarious situation. So let's do experience points first. Now, everyone who did desperate actions, you've already taken your experience for that, hopefully. Let's start with Mr. Hound, whose character sheet I already have open. Hello, Mr. Hound.
Hello.
Mr. Hound, you didn't spend any stress. You managed not to get traumatized.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So let's start off with a little bit of XP. Did you address a challenge with tracking or violence?
Yes, multiple times.
Yeah, I would give yourself a couple for that. Absolutely. Did you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
Not really.
Okay.
Apart from I do dislike... Nah, it's not really... It's a drive in that I dislike McCreary and want him to suffer, but I don't think to the same extent.
Okay, sure. Did you struggle with issues from your vice or traumas during the session?
Yes. The reason why the initial shots were non-lethal was because of my soft condition, so
Okay, yeah.
I would say so.
Great, fantastic. Okay, I think that's that for. Should I do your downtime now? Yeah, I'll do your downtime now. So yeah, you have one downtime action.
Well, I really should get rid of some of this stress, so I'm
For
gonna
the love
go.
of sweet baby Jesus, indulge your vice. Go dig up corpses and give it to orphans, whatever it is you do.
I'm gonna go
Whoa.
resurrectioning.
Okay, you go resurrectioning. Absolutely. So yeah, indulge your vice. You can't overindulge at this point, so knock yourself out.
Yeah. 2.
So you relieve 2 stress.
It's better than nothing.
Mathematically, yes. Yes, it is. Unavoidably. Okay, fantastic. Now, do you wish to spend coin to take a second downtime action?
I have no coin.
Okay, that's true. Very well. In which case, Mr. Leech, let's give you some experience.
Hold up. Before we do Mr. Leech, I think what's going to happen is this is all flavor because I imagine it's very cheap. Even though this is actually okay. This is some character building because we've because we don't talk about people's personal lives, but there's some things about Mr. Hounds that Mr. Spider knows, obviously. So I think there's a day where Mr. Hound comes in looking kind of dusty and tired, and he's clearly, you know, that kind of stressed that you are when you're just so tired and done. And I think Mr. Spider is going to hand him a little flyer, the sort that you might get slightly more uptown, and say, "Oh, I don't know if you heard that there's some sort of fun fair happening up in Regent's Park. Free entry with this flyer. I don't know if you have any children you might wish to give it to, but I have no need of it."
Free entry. Orphans eat for free.
That's a kind of orphan ascension ring going on.
Free bag of chestnuts upon the delivery of this flyer, or something like that. And he just goes, "I have no need of it. I know no children."
I barely even confident I know what one is, to be honest.
I hate children and all they stand for.
Not even sure I was.
Actually, I think Mr. Spider might even attempt to joke to Mr. Hound and say, they are, Mr. Hound says something like, "Oh, you don't have any children, you know?" And Mr. Spider just goes, "They are quite literally beneath my notice."
No.
And
I guess I'm gonna...
goes back to his book. And yes, I am cashing in my my coordinator to give you another go at lowering your stress.
I'm going to take some orphans out to the fun fair.
You have a whole
The duality
so
of man.
yeah. So you on that evening you deliver a fresh corpse to a dodgy doctor of your acquaintance, and then in the morning you put on some glad rags and take the adorable urchins out for a day at the fair. You do a bit of ring toss, some tombola. You do one of those strike the hammer games. You know, you skip gaily through the park, holding hands with a chain of delightful children.
You win the orphans a coconut, and they're like, "Is that where you're from, Anwar?" And you're like, "No, stupid racist urchins."
They don't know.
You take your dumb racist urchins out for an awesome day.
My gaggle of racist urchins ready to be deployed on any mission.
Yeah.
And the day is made supremely better because the whole time you're having a lovely time with your urchins, just thinking, "Oh, Mr. Spider gave me this leaflet." Oh.
Please indulge your second vice. Let's.
Oh,
What'd you get?
I'm nearly scot-free. I got 4.
Oh, you got 4. Oh, well done.
Yes!
Fantastic. That's what we like to see.
Mr. Spider somewhere just goes, "Yes."
Well done.
It was more rewarding, weirdly, to spend time with children than it was to
Dig up corpses.
unearth a
Digging up
corpse.
corpses
Also, was it more rewarding because of the power of the friendship of the gentleman strangers?
Maybe.
I think digging up corpses would be particularly stressful.
It's easy.
They're not
You know
resisting.
where they are.
They're often not resisting. I mean, if Mr. Hound is digging up a corpse and it objects, that's time to call in the rest of the gentlemen strangers, surely.
True.
Okay, Mr. Leech. Mr. Leech, did you address a challenge with technical skill or mayhem?
Yes, I mean I made some specially made.
I think you should. There's even an argument for you taking 2 XP for that, because I think you had quite an impact with your both technical skill and also mayhem. Did you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
No, I don't think.
Okay, and did you struggle with issues in your vice or traumas this session?
I mean, I gained a trauma.
You did gain a trauma.
I defo so struggled. There was a struggle.
I suppose I can't deny that that's literally true. You can take an experience. It's up to you to decide whether you get an experience point or not. It's not for me to adjudicate. Have you
Take
thought?
it. Rinse him for all he's worth.
Yeah, I've got a big bag of them. I just grow them. Mr. Leech, have you thought about which trauma trait you would like to take?
I feel like
Currently, we have in play soft and obsessed
oh,
Haunted
No?
and haunted.
and haunted. Wow.
obsessed is already in play.
I don't think obsessed is. We've got a soft and we've got a haunted.
Mr. Spider's haunted.
I feel like I might go obsessed because
Hell yeah.
I'm like, damn, I got shot in the gut. I'm
What-
really obsessed with it now.
What's your obsession? What is it that you find yourself compelled to do or compelled to think about?
Ooh, I don't know.
Is it the life works of Dr. Harry Jekyll?
Yeah,
Oh,
maybe
because of
it's
the high price you almost
following
that you
up and just learning everything.
you so in a sense you're potentially talking about your pursuit of. You were told that you might be very skilled, Mr. Leech, but you're no Harry Jekyll, and maybe there's part of you thinking, well, I could be, and one of the ways to become the next Harry Jekyll is I've got access to all his shit now. So yeah, I like that. I like.
Steal his eye.
So you are obsessed, and the way that works, just to tell you that again, is that you don't always have to bring it into play, but if you bring it into play in a way that disadvantages you in some way, then as you've just discovered with Mr. Hound, you will get experience. It adds an extra experience trigger for you. Okay, fantastic. That's really good. Now you have a downtime action. If you do not, you have 0 stress because obviously you reset your stress bar.
Traumatized instead.
So if you if you choose to heal, to make progress on your healing clock, you will take a level of stress, because any downtime where you don't indulge your vice, you
Yeah.
gain stress equal to your trauma level. But you do have 0 stress, so you might decide that maybe healing is the better. I mean, also, I wouldn't indulge your vice in 0 stress, because you will by definition overindulge, and I can't see why you'd do that.
They've got to heal.
Okay. Fantastic. So I think you can roll. I think you can just roll your tier for this. Now your tier is 0. But you get your tier is 0, but you get +1, because you have access to an underground doctor. So you roll 1 die.
Where am I clicking this to?
You click on the word healing, literally on the word healing.
What?
Normally you'd be rolling 2 dice, but because you're at war, your tier has gone down. Are you talking? I can't hear you because of the weird effect
Sorry.
that has. It's not your fault.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's just do you see it? You see next to where your harm is written, there's a little 4 segment clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally the word healing above that it is the thing you click on.
Okay. 1.
Yep, healing with 1 die. 3. Okay. So you've rolled a 3, and if I recall correctly, I will double check, but I think that you get, I think you fill a segment from that, but I will double check that because I don't want to. Yeah, you get 1 segment filled on your healing clock. When you filled 4, that level 2 wound will become a level 1 wound.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, fine. You don't have any coins, so you don't have the resources for a second downtime action. So that's that dealt with. So, there remains for me one last thing. Somewhere in London.
You haven't done
Oh, I haven't done Mr.
Nice
Spider.
Studies.
It's because Mr. Leech is the last one on my layout. So, Mr. Spider, you don't get anything.
Aww.
You're a person of little worth.
I don't even have fingers.
So, XP, did you address a challenge with calculation or conspiracy?
Yes.
Okay.
I literally conspired with McAlliskey.
You did indeed. Did you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
I tried to.
Gosh. Okay. Again, it's up to you to decide. And did you struggle with issues from your vice or traumas?
Like you wouldn't fucking believe.
Really? Tell us about that.
Oh, so Mr. Spider's entire response to the ship, to the canal boat, and then to the aftermath, which was harder because like the time skipped on, but like he was decidedly unhelpful with Dr. Pellew, because he is haunted by the deaths of people around him. Okay. And he was like, oh well, Mr. Leech got killed and it's your fault and I hate you.
Great. I guess also seeing yourself in a photograph you don't remember being taken, probably.
Yeah, he's keeping that photograph for his own studies.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So, you have a downtime action.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to heal.
Okay.
Which means I'm just gonna take 1 stress immediately, because...
Yep.
No cocaine for me.
Take a stress and heal. You have 1 die.
Aww. Healing. Number of dice. 1.
5.
Oh, that's good.
That is good. 5 gets you 2 segments out of the 4 that you need. So that's great. You also have no coin to spend on a second downtime action. So that's that. Oh yeah, war is hell. War is not a good thing for a faction to be in, especially against someone like McCreary with a big old gang. But no doubt you'll find a way through it. Now, somewhere in London, at another time and place, the ritual of storm summoning continues. There can be no doubting that the strange imperfect boundary interspersing the glyphs in the circle is not randomly devised. Indeed, there are many who would now recognize it if they saw it. For the right side half of the circle depicts, with haunting accuracy, the eastern half of the city of London. Punctuating this imperfect boundary, the robed celebrant etches the undulating curves of the Thames, taking care to replicate its declining width to the west. He's whispering strange syllables under his breath, and just in the moment his chalk is drawn in the shape of the river, you imagining its surface is ever so slightly liquid. Throughout London, in all of the barometers in the city, the mercury is plummeting. And there we shall end our session. An awful lot has happened. The Gentlemen Strangers are now in what I would confidently describe as an awful lot of trouble. What will the consequences be of this trouble? Well, we will be back in 1 week's time, which is the 18th of December, which will be the last session this year, and then we'll be back in January. At some point, probably either the 8th or the 16th, depending on what people's availability is. But all that remains for me to do is to say thank you so much for joining. Thank you to the Hinderkinder and the Aid Brigade for adding a little bit of magic to the proceedings. And lastly, thank you to our wonderful supporters on Patreon, who are Andre Cherupnin, Loki, Dinkledor, Elagos Alexander, Henry Prestige, James Malloy, Joe, Ken Poyner, the Mikes, Michael Bowman, Mike Fielding, and Mike Kilburn, Photosynthetic.
Who was that last one?
Oh, sorry.
Huh?
Mika Kubug.
Milk
Kubug.
Milka
Milka
Marco Coburn.
Milk Kubug. Yeah.
Delicious milk cucurburb.
Ugh.
Lovely. Ugh, the correct reaction from us to hearing such a revolting name. Photosynthetic and the Armchair Egyptologist. So thank you to all of those people, except for the people who are me, because thanking yourself is a really weird thing to do.
Thank you, Luke.
I hope you all have a really lovely one single week. I will get the VOD for last session up just before I get the VOD for this session up. And ironically, I have much less time to do twice as many things. So in a way, I've done this to myself. Hope you all have a wonderful week. We will see you, or most of us will see you, in a week's time. Until then, take care of yourselves. We love you. Trash bags in the chat. You're all stunning. And we're out.